Alright, this is issue 6 of the official Handbook Master Edition featuring She-Oaks. This is still sealed, so let's unseal it. Part of me wishes that they didn't have covers because I think it would be more exciting wondering what characters I am going to get this time. Like opening a booster pack of cards. Maybe in the future I will remove the covers in advance and then let ages pass before actually looking at them, so I do partially forget it was in them. So here it is, and they are not in alphabetical order for some reason. Let's correctly remove all the pieces of card like was intended, and then place them in alphabetical order. Yeah, the first 4 profiles are out of sequence for some reason. After them, it just continues on. Starts at A and then goes all the way to W. Here we have got them all, and it is really satisfying and pleasing. Tearing them out feels really good. Our first profile is for Astrologer, a character that this Handbook appearance was his last ever appearance, I believe. Lame character. Needless Steve Engeltine addition to the Cosmic Pantheon. Bullseye Man. The art for these is all by Neil Pollard. He was the house artist for all 36 issues of this series. I was thinking, imagine how amazing this series would be if it ran for 100 issues. You're probably thinking, oh, they can't do that, they don't have that many characters, but no, they can do redesigns. They did do some redesigns. So like when Captain America gets his armour, that is a chance to do another Captain America entry. And then there are some major characters who actually didn't receive profiles in the Master Edition, like Velcro or the Cat. And they're both just from the Defenders. Cannonballs, very happy to get him. We will come back at the end to what I am doing with these. I'll show the backs for some of them and not for some others. The ones that you might be interested in, I'll show the backs for them. Coppertone, another Serpent League member. We got at least one last time, so I can maybe start building a Serpent League for my big epic storyline at the end. Donnie Darkoff. Yeah, the idea is I am taking these and adding them to what I got from the other one and seeing what I can do with them. But there are characters like this who are just dead. They had been dead for ages. Fister. Last time I made an entire Thunderbars team led by Moonstump. And now I have got Fister, so maybe I will add him to that team. Or maybe he can be someone they oppose. Cate Blanchett. Now, I was thinking, a lot of the dead characters, they could be fodder for Cate Blanchett to throw at people. But it doesn't really work because none of them would go to Fairyland L. But it is a possibility that maybe the Death Gods could unite at some point in my made-up story, and that can be used as an excuse to incorporate all these dead people I don't have a place for in my epic. The reverse sometimes as art and other times is bulk text. Gobbler. This was when he was possessed by a demon. What year was this? We are getting very close to when that wasn't his setup anymore. Anyway, I hate when they do this. The profile is shared between Gobblers 1 and 2, or as it would be later retconned, Gobblers 2 and 3. Grandad Kronos. This is a good one to have because now this opens our story up to, well, Kate Blanchett does as well. But now we can have, actually, Donnie Darkoff too. I think he was still ruling Limbo by this point. We can have casual cutaways to other dimensions, showing people in other dimensions observing, upset, being called... Shit, what am I saying? I could have Grandad Kronos put together a Legion of the Unliving. I don't think we have enough for a team yet, but that is something to maybe come back to later. I was wondering what his first appearance would be listed as. Avengers 10. I was curious if they would incorporate Kronos into his profile, but they don't. Hey, how do you make the King Lear? You put a queen in a bikini. Pretty sure I did that exact same thing in the 89 update when I turned to his profile. Deadle right here. Scourge victim. Don't have much use for him yet. Captain America dressed up as him to catch Scourge. Sinestro, however, we also have someone else to pair Sinestro with in this later on. That is Simon Waltonson art, Sinestro fighting the Excellent Man. Kuramai will be pleased to see No Man, if I have pronounced Kuramai correctly. Jack No Man, he is entering my collection very early on here. We have one of the Omega Titans, and I think one of the other ones I got, issue 22 or 23, I think one of them has another Omega Titan. So we're actually starting to build up a selection of the sort of great powers that unite in council to weigh if they should intervene in events. Professor Prower, Defender's enemy, leader of some versions of the Secret Empire. Also dead by this point. John Walters, Captain America, beat him to death. He would return a year or two later in one of the crossovers in Annuals. The Iron Man one that ran through West Coast Avengers and Dartboard. But he was still dead at the time of this. Rintrah. I love Rintrah. He is great. Created by Peter Gilbert. I don't like to get bogged down in death and whatnot. I don't really even like to acknowledge when creators die. But as a writer that I do not care for, it is nice that the first mention of Peter Gilbert after his death is for his best character, Rintrah. I'll be back to saying that Peter Gilbert is shit next week or something. She-Hulks, in my favourite look for the character. I like this. She-Hulks, I always liked wearing the very 80s gym leotard type thing with the big curly hair. She is as dated as that look is. The 80s aerobics girl look is She-Hulk's in my mind. It works well with her personality, and you don't really need any major design elements to make it clear it is She-Hulk's. She-Hulk's is always going to be the big green woman, not the woman in a purple and white costume. There's the back right there. Russia Girl, the first Defender we have received. And obviously Defenders, well, She-Hulk's was a Defender, and so was No Man, briefly. Russia Girl isn't enough for a Defenders team yet, though. And we do get someone else she can be paired with in one profile's time. Plastic Man, the Invader-as character, leader of the new Invader-as, and I think that is where we will go with them. There's a reverse, and it doesn't mention that Marvel Comics Presents story. Ursaring, and how disappointing is that? They are only shown the bear front on. Russia Girl can be paired with him, and we can have a two-person unit that is the Soviet Super Soldier Boys. Maybe they call in the rest of the team in our story. But if the team ever arrives, remains to be seen. Vertical, and I have always had a crush on her, ever since Excellent Men, the cartoon. And she is obviously who can go with Sinestro, as she was on his parade as. There she is, fighting Spider-Man on the... Wow, they really didn't have much to say about Vertical, did they? And then last, but not least, another decent candidate for a Thunderbals team. The Human Top. That is that. And now let's bring in the ones I already had and start making shit up as we go along. A quick recap, or rather, a bit of a pivot. I think our main threat is going to be Genesis backwards. He is an underutilised bad guy for this type of thing, but saying so isn't getting rid of the story I set up last time. In fact, I think what I set up last time is where we begin. We have a three-way villain summit between Reader, Dan Slott, and Red Skull Man, who is funding them and has sent Mother Superior as his representative. They are going into space because they want to steal the knowledge of Metron, the new god, the energies of Rubik, and the mystical power of the long dormant Genesis backwards. Now we have got some more lore to add to them. Red Skull Man was not the first person they reached out to. They actually don't really want to work with Red Skull Man. And they're kind of glad that he didn't join in himself and sent Mother Superior. But the two evil geniuses were looking for backing. They were looking for money to bankroll them. They originally, off-panel, they went to Kingpin Man. Dan Slott went to him, and Kingpin Man declined off-panel. This would be revealed later on, maybe. What we have now, though, is Bullseye Man has been dispatched to assassinate Dan Slott. Obviously, Kingpin Man has given him this task, but so we have that little thing bubbling in the very background of the story. You know what? Right at the start, we see Dan Slott fight off assassination attempts from Coppertone and Gobbler. It is an open hit, but Bullseye Man is the main thing we see this issue. Bullseye Man trying to assassinate Dan Slott. He throws various projectiles and Dan Slott catches them all with his mechanical arms. Dan Slott eventually wears Bullseye Man down, and it's actually a good showing for Dan Slott. He slowly defeats Bullseye Man. I'm also thinking unrequited romance here for Dan Slott. They also have a pair of underlings in Nitrous Brio and Awesome Andrew, and I don't really want to inflate. Oh, you know what? Fister. Maybe Fister works with this squad. Yeah, actually, okay. Plot reasons, and it works. Right, Fister is their underling, but really an equal partner. He is playing the part of an underling. Dan Slott and Reader think of him as an underling, but Fister believes he is one of the masterminds. And he actually is. But his apparent lower placement on the hierarchy is also his advantage, because he is almost operating in the background. And Fister would be the one who told them about Metron. He knew about Metron because Moonstump told them about her dealings with Metron in Thunderbolts 47. By the way, I have no fucking clue when this story is set. For someone obsessed with continuity, this is the worst non-existent amalgamation of Marvel canon around. But hey, at least I don't have to deal with any character introduced after 1993. And actually, that is how Moonstump got involved. Fister was already trying to cut Reader and Dan Slott out of the picture because he perceived Metron alone as a prize worth pursuing. He turned to Moonstump because Moonstump has been to Titan and she knows of Metron. And Fister wants to basically do to himself what Vision had happened in the 80s. Fister wants to link up with Metron and steal all his amassed knowledge for himself. That is also what Reader and Dan Slott want from Metron. His giant cachet of intelligence that goes beyond their limits of Earth. Moonstump hates Fister though. And now she has found an excuse to be, or appear to be, a hero and do something maybe heroic. She is going to lead a team of Thunderbolts to stop Fister, but at the same time, maybe she is being driven by her own selfish desires or ulterior motives. Maybe she's just doing this to get back at Fister. Anyway, her team, I sort of want to add human top to it. But also, almost immediately after joining the team, let's say Eel, famous snake-themed bad guy, Eel, he just left. Like, Moonstump recruited him and got him out of a jam or something. Maybe Moonstump got him out of prison. No, I don't like that. There would be far better people to get out of prison. How about
Rock Lobster
and Eel got into a fight about the time Eel was in the Serpent Society? And Eel... No, that's adding too much story to it. I liked the idea of a character just leaving, almost without mention, completely without any reason besides presumably seeing no point. Just like abandons the team on a whim. I think Eel is the best one to leave. Like, maybe even Moonstump later on just goes, "Hey, where's Eel?" And Okra points out that he bailed like a while ago. Maybe off panel. Maybe he disappears the minute Moonstump adds another recruit in Human Top. This would be after all their team are together. They encounter him robbing a bank or something and decide to intercept them. And he thinks that they're actually going to stop them. But then Moonstump offers them membership on the team and that they will help him get away before any heroes arrive. I don't know how. They don't have a teleporter. Or maybe... Fuck. I am getting too into this. Right, because Moonstump perceives Human Top as having more value to the team, she instead... Oh, fuck no, this is great, this really works. The bank that Human Top is robbing is the bank that Rock Lobster was working at as a civilian in the Thunderballs No Man one-shot. Don't worry, he's coming. Right, so Moonstump, she recruited Rock Lobster in issue 1. Well, he said that he can only help out around working hours. So the entire Thunderballs team are there to pick him up after his work shift. But it's then when Human Top is robbing the bank. Massive coincidence. I'm not too happy about that. But I think it's the sort of contrivance that isn't too horrendous. It won't take it out of the story too much. So they are there and Moonstump decides that Human Top is a better member to have on her team. So she decides to knock out Rock Lobster because he is the obvious fall guy. He worked there, and so if they leave him behind, he will be framed as at least an accomplice and temporarily provide the police and whatnot with a distraction, something to keep them busy while the Thunderballs get Human Top away with the money that he stole. That is his incentive for joining. They help him get away with his money in exchange for him joining the team. Maybe he was actually trying to stop Human Top from robbing the bank, and the Thunderballs decided that they would side with Human Top instead of Rock Lobster. It would be after this that Eel just vanishes from the team. We won't see it, but later on, when Moonstump realises he's gone, she deduces that he bailed after she dumped Rock Lobster. But you know who said he would be coming back to deal with Rock Lobster if Rock Lobster ever fell off the straight and narrow? No man. This is all quite removed from our main plot though. We're just setting up a main set of characters to appear. What about the main plot with the bad guys? Nitrous Brio and Awesome Andrew are sent to Phineas's abandoned desert base to salvage anything of any use. They won't find anything because the army and the Avengers were pretty thorough, I would imagine. But they are open to find somewhere, and their breaking into this station is what brings the Avengers into the equation. We're putting together a quality Avengers team here. We are adding She-Hulks to Captain America and the Flash, one of my favourite Marvel characters. I have actually once sort of imagined a story with these three specifically, just these three. So it's kind of nice to see it here. Last time, Cap and the Flash, they were at Avengers' house, responding to alerts. And what it was, they were being alerted to someone trespassing on Thanius's abandoned complex. Now, this three-person team arrives to fight Nitrous Brio and Awesome Andrew. Obvious matchup, strength versus strength. And then these two versus Nitrous Brio. You've got the obvious image of Captain America using his shield to protect them from Nitrous Brio's explosions. Then you have the Flash being able to outrun those explosions and even use whirlwinds to dispel or minimize the effect of the explosions. All in all, I think that bit is good. Some of the rest I am struggling to include. I think no man can be affiliated with Plastic Man. Plastic Man is still operating and running behind the scenes Black Ops stuff, and so he has conscripted No Man and someone who we will see next edition. And Plastic Man, he is mainly interested in taking down Red Skull Man because he wants to stick it to Captain America. He wants to assassinate Red Skull Man and boast about it to Captain America and let him know that he did what Captain America couldn't ever do. He stopped Red Skull Man forever. Obviously, after New Invader as Plastic Man went into hiding, so the Goldie Age heroes he is working with are a lot less glamorous than the ones he previously dealt with. He is working with No Man, who is a bit of an outsider himself. Maybe Plastic Man also Brookard Summit with the Russians. I don't know, I can't think of much of a way to bring the Russians into the story. At least not yet, besides having a panel of them reacting to nothing, really. Maybe Red Skull Man has sought sanctuary in Russia by claiming to be the 50s Red Skull Man. I do think some of these are currently unworkable into the story. They are stray ideas. Maybe Rintra, he could be used to explain Genesis backwards. Like in... what was it? There's the Jim Starman, Alan Watson story. There's a one with an interlude where an alien is hosting a recap and talking to the reader, explaining Thanius's history. Do something like that with Rintra, maybe. Someone else reader reached out to was Sinestro. Sinestro has no interest in working with them or in any of their schemes. He, however, is intrigued by the prospect that Rubik or Genesis backwards potentially could be able to curtail the Phoenix Force. He says all this to Vertical and wishes to be kept apprised of the situation. Don't know if anything will come from that. Maybe it's just one of those Christmas on Infinite Earths style check-ins with characters. I think maybe astrologer is an interesting thing to link to Metron. maybe establish they exchange information. But I don't like astrologer, and I don't think there's anything to do with the character. Now, Kronos, Grandad Kronos, I think he will have some relevance because Genesis Backwards, his original storyline, involved time travel. Actually forgot to even show Mordred when I went through the Handbook. Absolutely no use for him or his skirt. So that is some more insanity from me. I'm looking forward to where this goes next. I'll rate this helping of the Master Edition a startling 7 thumbs up.